Hello everyone, welcome to another deck profile by Double Sleep. Today we've got our very own Ryan showing us through his top 8 Syn Shenron. He's going back-to-back in-person events. You saw him with the deck profile for Fest. Now you see him with the exact same... No, I'm joking. You see him with another Syn Shenron profile for our very first regional here, May 1st in Oceania. Ryan, thank you so much for choosing us to actually run your deck profile. This is amazing. So to start off, do you mind if you obviously talk us through today's matchups? We had 8 rounds itself, and then we obviously went into the top cut itself. But take us through what you versed today. If you change anything now that you've obviously seen everything, and then obviously we'll go through the deck and the sideboard and everything like that.
Yeah, so I finished in 8th place with Syn, a little bit different to the one that I took to Fest.
Thank God.
A couple of different cards. As you said, we had 8 rounds. I went 6-2. So I played Green Brew first round against someone from my locals. So was a bit familiar with that matchup. The boys have played it a fair bit.
A bit free, you would say, as well.
I wouldn't go that far, but it was a good match. U7 round 2, I won that one as well. I've played a fair bit into U7, and the control in Syn can generally lock out U7 from wanting to do the things they want to do.
Yep.
I was able to win that. Hachiak round 3. Bit of a control matchup there. He was able to get me on that one. He milled me out using his Shadow Dragon Secret Rare. So, on theme there. But yeah, it's just so many negates, so difficult for me to get through. He can easily remove my 9-drop to make me draw cards, which can just make me burn through my deck quite easily. I played U7 again in round 4 and was able to set up quite well against that player. I got to turn 6 and everything. I had quite control of the game, but we lost. I lost for time rules. He had more life than I did at the end of overtime. So he got the win. Coming back to round 5 after the break, I played Tien, another boy from our locals. Shout out to Jason. We had a little bet going on that one, so I was able to win there against him. Then I played Starter Vegeta, which was a really cool deck, extremely aggressive, had a lot of cards that I hadn't seen before, just to play some 1-drops and some things like that, but a good match there. Played against the yellow Flip Gohan round 7 that plays the field cards. Not too sure. I think they might be saying Showdown.
I believe 2 sets ago, it was last set, from what I remember. Cross Spirit.
One of them
Showdown.
Syn's got a really good matchup into yellow. Generally, it can just out-control them. I definitely think Syn's the best yellow deck, especially going into other yellow. So I felt comfortable with that one. And then last round I played against Gogeta Xeno. A tough match if they can get going quite early. But thankfully he was 1 attack short from killing me, and I was able to pretty much just double strike him on the following turn. But jumping into the list, the leader, Syn Shenron. When I attack, I get to look at the top 5 cards in the deck and grab any Shadow Dragon. And then at the end of the turn, I get to choose one of my Shadow Dragons and switch to active mode. My awakens when I'm at 3 life or less, or if I have a unison specified cost of 4, I can draw 2 cards, flip one of my energy to active mode, and flip over. On the awakened side, when I attack, just a standard draw 1, but now at the end of turn, all of our Shadow Dragons restand, which would be really good because we've got a lot of blockers and things like that, so being able to restand them all at the end of turn. And then what makes this leader so good, the activate main for 6 yellow energy, we get to play up to 7 Shadow Dragons with different card names from the drop area, so it definitely puts our opponent on a clock. If we reach turn 6, it's very difficult for us to lose from there.
So before we obviously get into the other cards, we want to take note of the playmat here, guys. Created by ourselves, top tier. But obviously you did top with Syn as well. So do you want to show us the top cut mat as well? Obviously we didn't get the prizing for obviously the Vegeta and stuff like that, but this is
beautiful map.
Yeah, gorgeous.
So pretty happy about that one.
Yeah, put that away.
Can't beat Android 17.
Can't play with that map.
MVP. So yeah, jumping into the deck. 3 of the Ice Shenron. This allows us to get our 1-drop Shadow Dragon balls quite easily. So we pay 1, discard this card from hand, and then we can play the 1-drop Shadow Dragons from the deck with their skills negated for the turn. A great turn 1 play. It's also got a counterplay for the 2 yellow energy. The card being played is played in rest mode. This did come up once or twice throughout the day, but generally you're playing it just for the consistency of playing the balls. 4 of the 1-drop ball. So for those that don't know, this card can't attack and isn't affected by opponent's skills, so it's very difficult to remove. And then we've got the activate main for 1 yellow energy. We send this card to the drop area and then choose a Syn Shenron with an energy cost between 2 and 4 from deck or hand and play it. So we're going to be playing the 4-drop Syn Shenron, 4 copies of that as always. This one's a 19k blocker. When it gets played, we can choose our opponent's leader in rest mode or opponent's battle card 4 or less in rest mode, and that card can't attack next turn. And when it gets removed, we get to draw 1 card and we can play the 1-drop from the 1-star ball from the drop area. So it keeps recycling itself and we can lock our opponent out for their leader's attack next turn. And then probably the best card in the deck is the 9-drop Syn Shenron. We can EX evolve over the 4-drop for 1 energy. When our opponent plays a battle card, we can choose that battle card, ignoring barrier and negate its skills for the turn. So being able to hit anything through barrier is really good and just puts our opponent pretty much a turn behind because they're not getting their effects as consistently as they'd like. And then when this card gets removed, we get to draw 2 cards and then restart the chain with the 1-drop ball.
So the only real way to obviously get rid of the chain and the ball itself is to counterplay it before it actually hits the field. Otherwise, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, there's not many cards that can interact with the balls. There's very specific permanents that can get around it, that just have like game lingering effects and things like that.
Yep.
That's getting technical. I do run the haze chain, so the 2-star ball, the 3-star haze, and definitely the 4-drop haze.
Yep.
Same thing, this one can't attack, isn't affected by skills. We pay 1 energy, send this to the drop, and we can play a haze. Energy costs 2 or 3 from the deck. That 3-drop haze is critical, and when it gets played, we get to add a Shadow Dragon 4 or less from the drop area back to hand.
Yep.
So if we've burst things that we need, or if we just need to get another copy of a specific Shadow Dragon, we can always pick it back up. And then we've got the 4-drop Haze Shenron. So it's 20k double strike. We can EX evolve for free over a Haze Shenron energy cost of 3, which is the critical. When we evolve into this card, it gets switched to active mode. So you can swing with the critical and then evolve and get the 20k double strike swing as well. But what makes this card extremely good is the auto. So when this card attacks or it's comboed from hand, we can pitch a Shadow Dragon and choose one of our opponent's battle cards with an energy cost higher than their current energy and KO it. This came up across the day. Ever since I've played Syn Shenron, this card is something that our opponent has to look out for. Just being able to KO a lot of boss monsters in the game is extremely good just for 2 cards.
And especially in today's meta, obviously you've got a lot of ACOS.
Yeah,
even,
absolutely.
Yeah,
with
higher
Vegeta
than that.
running around and things like that. Secret rares.
Yeah.
It just prevents our opponent from dumping hand.
Yep.
And that did win me a couple of games where my opponent would dump hand and I was able to haze and pop their card and win from there.
Yep.
1 copy of the Natron. This is really good in combination with the Nova. So what Natron does is a 15k double strike. It does have an EX evolve, but I don't run any other Natrons. The auto is, if your leader is yellow, when your opponent plays a battle card or unison card, you may choose that card and switch to rest mode if you do negate the skill for the turn. So unlike Poutine, you can choose when you want to resolve this effect.
Yep.
It's not necessarily the first card that gets played. And then the Nova is unique with a permanent. If you have a yellow Shadow Dragon on the field, this gets reduced in hand by 3, becoming a 1 cost. And the activate main is burst 2. You switch this card to rest mode, and you can play a Shadow Dragon from the drop area with an energy cost of 2 or more, 19,000 power or less, and a character name different from any that you have on the field. So Natron's probably one of the best options for this effect, but you can also play the 3-drop Haze, the 4-drop Syn Shenron if you don't have any Syn Shenrons on the field, and the Ice Shenron as well. So you can get a couple of extra cards out onto the field to attack with and things like that. But generally, if you're going for that control, being able to establish Natron on the field and start switching unisons and battle cards to rest mode is really good. And then another big 30k that we have is the Omega Shenron. So this is an ACOS 30k unique with an activate main for 1 yellow energy. You choose a mono yellow Shadow Dragon with an energy cost of 4 or less, send it to the drop area, you draw 1 card and play this card from your hand. So it's really good with the Nova to be able to switch this to rest mode, play a attack with it, and then pop the 15k that you played to go into the 8 drop. This has an activate main once per turn. If you lead this yellow Shadow Dragon, you choose a mono yellow Shadow Dragon card with an energy cost of between 2 and 4 that isn't a Syn Shenron card, and you send it to the warp, and then you can add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, and this card gains the effects of the card that you sent to the warp until the end of your opponent's turn. There's a heap of effects that you can take, like critical, double strike, and things like that. But the one that I use the most is the Oceanus. So the Oceanus is a barrier blocker, and when this card attacks, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards, switch it to rest mode. If it's an energy cost of 2 or less, you get to KO it. So just being able to give this barrier blocker and start KOing 1-drops is extremely good. But Oceanus also adds to the consistency of the deck. It's got an activate main burst 1. You discard this card from hand and look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck, and you can grab a Shadow Dragon with the energy cost of 8 and add it to hand, which is pretty much every single Shadow Dragon that I run outside of the 9 drop. So I can pretty much search 80% of the deck off that top 5. Next, we've got the big Triple Striker. This card won me, I think, maybe 2 or 3 games today, where my opponent went all out, comboed their whole hand, wasn't able to kill me, and I was able to
play that next turn.
Kill them on the following turn. So it's unique, triple strike, 30k, and you play it for 1 yellow energy by sending 7 Shadow Dragons from the drop area to the warp. You get to draw a card, play it from hand. Extremely good for 1 energy, just to be able to go in for that triple strike and put pressure on our opponents. A card that I didn't have in my Fest list was Nimbus. I was only running the Freezer's Army Reinforcements in that deck, and I found that I was struggling against Red Piccolo, I was struggling against Gogeta Xeno, in which I was still taking life for this, and just decks that went wide, I wasn't able to shut down turns, so I did miss Nimbus. I originally ran it a while back, so I went back to it, chucked it back in, it felt great. It was good against some of the U7 and the Gogeta Xeno matches and things like that. Just being able to shut down your opponent's turn. With the amount of blockers that you have as well, you can quite easily just shut it down and force them to pass. Freezer's Army Reinforcements is just an excellent negate, being able to take the life and play another blocker. 4 Unisons allows you to awaken early, and it just adds to the level of control that this deck just excels in. So you pay for 4, allows you to awaken. You've got the blocker and then auto. When this card loses a marker due to an opponent's attack, you choose one of their cards and switch to rest mode. So I was resting energy and things like that all day. The +1, activate main, draw 1 card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, ignoring barrier, and it can't switch to active mode to the end of your opponent's next turn, so you can keep a card locked down. And then the -4, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, gain control of it, and then switch it to active mode. I didn't resolve the -4 today, but I have in the past, and it's been extremely good. But the draw 1, just being able to keep something locked down, and then being able to rest
blocker as well.
It's extremely good. I had a lot of times where I'd get this out, and my opponent would continue to swing into this, which I've got no issues with.
Exactly.
More attacks into this is less attacks into my life, so I've got no problem. The faster I can get to turn 6, the more comfortable I am. But yeah, just being able to lock things down and switch things to rest mode is what this deck wants to do. 2 copies of Poutine, an excellent card. I always run this in my yellow decks.
Very straightforward.
Unique. When a card gets switched to rest mode, you can play this for free from your hand. And when your opponent plays a battle card using a skill or activates a counter skill, you can choose one of their battle cards and switch to rest mode. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the one that they played with the skill. It can be any of their other battle cards on the field. Super combos, the Krillin, bottom deck 1, draw 2, very standard. Another card that I didn't have in my Fest list was the Cooler. I did feel like the deck needed it with the triple strikes and things like that, and just the amount of negates that are in the game. I found the space for it. My list is 53, so I definitely wanted the Cooler in there, just in combination with the 8-drop triple striker. Between the two of them, you can really close out a game there. And secret rare, I continue to run the Syn Shenron secret rare. I just find that once it gets out, it's extremely difficult to remove. Being a ultimate deflect blocker, 35k. It's got a permanent, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1 for each 1-drop in your drop area. and this card can't be removed by skills. And then the auto, when this card activates its blocker skill, you switch to active mode and it gets minus 5,000 power for the turn. So you can continuously block with this and then just start comboing cards to keep it alive. But it's really nifty with the 1-drop ball. So if you've got 2 1-drops in the drop area and resolve this effect, sending this to the drop area, as long as you have this in hand, it gets reduced to a 4 cost, so you can play it from the 1-drop ball. So being able to play your secret rare for 1 energy is extremely good, especially when you can search it out with your leader, with your Oceanus and things like that. Yeah, I just love playing it. A lot of people do play the Salzino, but I just love playing control, so I find that the secret rare works for me. Into the side, we've got Dark King's Flash, specifically for the Syn Shenron mirror match, which I didn't see. There was a couple of other people running around with it, but the activate main is what you're running this for. You pay 1, your opponent has 5 or more energy. They can't play battle cards using leader card skills for the next turn, so you can shut them out of their activate main for 6 energy. Hopefully people don't start playing this against me. I do run the aggressive package in this deck. For things like King Piccolo and kind of decks that are a bit slower that I feel can control me a bit better than what I can control them, like SS4 and things like that. So negative energy 5-star, same permanence before, but this one, the activate main is for free. You don't have to pay 1 energy. You send this to the drop area and you can play the rage energy cost of 2. What Rage does, it's 10k critical, and the auto add 1 card from your life to your hand. When it attacks, gets plus 5,000 power for the turn. So you can get the 5-star ball out, play this out for free, and then go into the 8-drop swing with this, get the 15k critical, go into the 8-drop, resolve this effect from drop area to the warp, giving this critical. You can take 3 life between all of those effects to help self-awaken, things like that. But also just get a lot of critical attacks into our opponent. I didn't end up siding this in today, or I didn't feel that there was any matchup that I kind of needed it. I was playing against kind of mid-range decks that I felt I could out-control outside of Hachiak, but this wouldn't have done me that well against that either. I ran 2 more Nimbus, pretty much for aggressive decks and things like that, especially red as well, where they're able to establish the Piccolo Unison. I kind of wanted to take out the Freezer's Army reinforcements for 2 more copies of this. It feels bad to activate the Freezer's Army, take a life, and then the Piccolo Unison just pops the token immediately. So I wanted to have some other negates. Vegeta Unison, extremely good against Gogeta Xeno and U7 as well, but it was mainly for that Gogeta Xeno and black essentially. So you pay it for 2, activate main once per turn, choose this card or one of your battle cards, switch to rest mode, add a marker to this card. So it's really good being able to switch things like the 1-drop ball, add a marker onto this, and at the end of turn you can just restand your Shadow Dragon. And then you can get the attack off this as well. The -1, your opponent can't attack with battle cards energy costs greater than their current energy for the next turn, so you can shut down Gogeta Xeno and they can't attack with their thwartings and things like that. The -3, activate main, choose up to one of your opponent's energy, switch to rest mode. This card gains plus 5,000 power, double strike, and dual attack for the turn. I only resolved the -3 against Hachiak, but still wasn't enough to be able to get through all of his negates. And then a couple of other cards. Frieza, Divine Transformation. This is for blue, and funny enough, also Hachiak. It actually worked out quite well against that deck too, because they're resolving so many counters, but it was too little too late at that point. 25k deflect double strike blocker, you pay it for 5. This card, so it can't be removed from your battle area by opponent's skills, so it's really good into blue. When it gets played, you choose all your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, KO them. At the end of the turn, this card gets switched to active mode. And auto, when your opponent activates a counter-attack skill, you get to choose 2 of their cards, switch them to rest mode, and they can't be switched to active mode for your opponent's next turn. So you can start locking down their energy and things like that, and just preventing their turns. Final Flash for decks that I felt like were going to hit me with some big boss monster and things like that. The Jiren for Turning the Tide, and this was also just for the aggressive decks that I was siding in the Rage package. I wanted to put an Overarm in there as well, just to kind of continue putting that pressure on.
Perfect.
That's the deck.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ryan, congratulations again, obviously, on the top 8.
Yeah, it's exciting to go back to back.
Absolutely. Would you think that you would change anything in the side deck or the main deck now that you've obviously got a bit more experience with it again and you got to play it in person?
Yeah, there's always a couple of cards in the side deck that I'm not too sure what to do with. When I'm not using cards that much, it kind of feels bad to have them
Of
on
course.
the side.
Yep.
The problem with this is that you rely on so many Shadow Dragons and searching them out, and the consistency of the deck.
Yep.
When you start adding in cards that aren't Shadow Dragons and extra cards and things like that, it makes it a bit more inconsistent.
Absolutely.
But I'm really happy with the main. It's quite rare that I do start diving into the sideboard unless it's for specific matchups.
Yep.
So a couple of cards that I'll continue to toy with, but I'm happy where the main is. The sideboard could use a bit of work.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, if you do enjoy Deck Profiles, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any other videos, and make sure you leave a comment if there's anything that you would change. We will have the deck profile in a link below, so that way you guys can see it on paper and you can kind of have a read of what the cards do again, or make your own changes to it. Ryan, obviously, congratulations again, representing Double Sleeve, of course. And guys, thank you so much. See you in the next one, hopefully.